is Miami, is there a plan B to you? If they don't get Dame, is there a plan B of saying, all right, let's go out and get this guy or that guy or trade for this guy and that guy to return to the NBA Finals?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think a lot of their eggs are in the Damian Lillard basket. That's why they didn't put in such an effort to bring back guys like Strus and Gabe Vincent. I think they knew they were going to lose those guys. So you did essentially lose your backcourt for the NBA Finals. And, I suppose, look, they always have the safety blanket of Kyle Lowry has another year left on his deal. He did play decent in the playoffs. And so they could always go back to that well. Him and Jimmy have a really, really strong relationship. They did bring back Josh Richardson, one of their former draft picks, who I think Eric Spoelstra talked into taking less money so he wouldn't go to Boston to come to Miami. So people are pretty hyped about what he can bring to the table. And so I do think that the guys I mentioned, Jaquez and Jovic, I do think that some of these young pieces that maybe people aren't familiar with, they always seem to know when those guys are ready to step up. People talk about like the development of the undrafted guys. They always have such a great idea of when those guys are ready to take a next step and give them more. So that's probably the level they go. But no, to really like put themselves over the top on paper in contendership, no, Dame's the guy. Dame is the guy they have been waiting on. Dame is the guy their stars have been recruiting behind the scenes. Jimmy doesn't do a lot of recruiting. And Jimmy has gone to the front office and said, like, let's do everything we can. And he knows, like, that even means, hey, Kyle Lowry's probably not going to be here. That's the godfather to his daughter. Bam Adebayo and Damian Lillard are super, super tight. And so I think that's why Dame's so specific on why he wants to be here and why he's not as specific on wanting to go to a place like Philly. I think that he just does. I think everything's lined up here a little bit more. And while Philly has the MVP in Joel Embiid, Maxey is in that Tyler Hero role of he's still kind of young. And I think youth kind of scares Damian Lillard right now, whereas Jimmy and Bam are a little bit more proven. And that's why, you've heard them as the favored destination of him and why he's so keen on going down here.
Do you think that the best move for Philadelphia is the way they're playing it, which is essentially, all right, all that Embiid going anywhere after they lost in the playoffs, that conversation died out. He's staying in Philly. It sounds like Tyrese Maxey's staying in Philly. So the question then becomes, what do you do with James Harden? Because I don't think you can ever get back. I guess the money that you're paying James Harden is going to be tough to get back in return. So what do you think ends up happening there?
First of all, they're lying. He's not untouchable. They're lying. Like, every player who ever gets traded is told that they're untouchable and they're not going anywhere a week or so.
I don't know, man. I don't know. With Tyrese Maxey, I'm not saying that he's as good as Damian Lillard is. But what I'm saying is this. In 3 years, when Damian Lillard's 35 years old and when Tyrese Maxey's 27 years old, and then they had that crossover, right? At that point, if we're talking about a few years from now, then we might be saying Tyrese Maxey is a better player. So it just depends how all in you want to go if you're one of these teams. Because if I'm Philly, I ain't trading Tyrese Maxey.
But that's the problem. The one Tyrese, they're not looking at him as being a potential Damian Lillard. Like, after watching him, he's going to be a good player. But no one's looking at him as he's going to be a superstar. He's looked at as he's going to be an all-star, but he's going to be a superstar. That's one. And the other thing is, Joel Embiid and his injury history, they're not trying to wait for 3 years when Tyrese Maxey is fully developed. They need to win right now because Joel Embiid has a Yao Ming type body, right? So you got to maximize what you have, and that's why they've done a lot of the things they've done. That's why they brought in James Harden. That's why, you know what I mean? That's why they gave a max contract a few years to Tobias Harris, because they haven't developed anybody because they know the time frame that they have to win a championship is right now, right? So if Tyrese all of a sudden becomes prime Tyrese in 3-4 years, right? And all of a sudden becomes a superstar, which they don't believe he'll be. But if they believe he becomes a superstar, but then Joel Embiid is done because of his injury history, then you still don't have a championship team. So they're saying to themselves, we need to win a championship in the next 3 years. We ain't got time to wait. And that's why they got James Harden originally. And that's why they're trying to go for Dame. That's why they're trying to go for anybody who can have them win over the next year or two. And this city is sick of the process. They've been a second round knockout for basically every year for the last 5 years. They ain't got time. Nick Nurse ain't got 3 years. Daryl Morey doesn't have 3 years. right? Like Daryl Morey will get fired in a year if they don't make it to the conference final at the very least next year. So they're like, we ain't got time to wait for no development. The GM ain't got time to wait for no development. So they'll say, we'll take Dame right now because he's better than figuring out what Tyrese is going to be. That's their mindset. And let me add to that. I've never seen this before in my life at this point in the season. He's not only has used the MVP, but it's minus 1,600 and plus 800 any other player. We're at the midway point. I've never seen this guy in the betting world, this guy versus everybody else at the halfway point, right?
That is crazy. That is nuts.
That's like BetMGM at 9 games through the NFL season saying Patrick Mahomes, anybody else. Like what? Like this guy has that odds with 80 something games in. That's crazy.
So if you don't understand what Sean was saying, you can either take Shohei Ohtani or you can have every other player in the American League, and you can get 8-1 odds on every other player in the American League, which, again, I hate to talk about injuries, especially with a generational talent like that, so maybe I'll whisper it, but play the 8-1. Dude, you get everybody. You get every other player that's not named Shohei Ohtani. The baseball season's way too long. Way too many things can happen. And I don't think his bat or his pitching are going to go away. But come on. That's just too tempting not to take.
But I'm scared to take it.
8-1 on everybody else. Everybody. I'll give you everybody.
Sean, think about this. This is what they're telling you. He doesn't have to play the entire season to win the award. He can literally get hurt the last 6 weeks of the season and will still get the MVP based on what he's done thus far in the season. So he ain't even got to be healthy for the next 80 games left. He only got to be healthy for like 40 of them things, and they still going to give it to him.
That's a really good point. You're probably right. If he gets through like 3/4 of the season, they're probably like, all right, that's cool. They might just give the trophy already, right? It might be like, the beginning of August, and they go, here, dude, just take it, and we'll figure out who gets it next year. Green Bay at Chicago. Green Bay plus 2.5. Like it, love it, or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I don't know. And listen, one of my bets is that Jordan Love is going to be great this season. I think Jordan Love is going to throw for over 4,200 yards, and I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I still think the Green Bay Packers aren't going to be good, but I think Jordan Love is going to show everybody, hey, I'm a pretty good quarterback, and watch out for me in the future. But in the first couple of games, Green Bay and Chicago are both going to be figuring some things out. And Chicago just, Justin Fields has a world of talent and has crap around him. I don't think they're going to be very good. So I'm going to leave it alone just because it could go either way for me.
Lack of information, leaving it alone is probably the move to make. Also, lack of information on Jordan Love, which makes me go, what? What makes you think he's going to put up those numbers? What you said basically makes him what Aaron Rodgers was last year.
Where Aaron Rodgers stunk last year, in my opinion. I think Jordan Love, it's just watching him play, the game tape. You know what Jordan Love, and again, I'm in Philadelphia. I knew Jalen Hurts was going to be a good quarterback before most people. And when I saw Jalen Hurts come in the game, in the SEC championship game with Tua got hurt. And he basically won them the game. He didn't basically win them. He won them the game. And I said to myself, oh, he's going to make it to the NFL. He's going to be a decent quarterback. Because I saw the progression over the last year or two from what he was as a freshman. I said, oh, he's working hard. He's getting good. He has the talent. And Jordan Love, when he came in for Aaron Rodgers last year, it was the first time I said, whoa, that's arm talent. That's accuracy. He played really well when he substituted in for Aaron Rodgers. So that made me believe, okay, in the NFC, especially with bad quarterback play, where they only got one quarterback that you can count on in Jalen Hurts, I said to myself, Jordan Love can climb up the board in NFC quarterbacks because of how bad the quarterback play is in the NFC. So I really think he's going to have a good year, especially in a bad division.
I just don't know if he's got the weapons to throw to. To your point about Aaron Rodgers last year, you're right, man. The numbers, only 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns to 12 picks. We'll see how much of that was Rodgers versus how much of that was the situation in Green Bay and what I just mentioned, the lack of weapons.